Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'll be talking to you briefly about Ziba Azim and the importance of Ziba Azim. For this, I would like to refer to verses from Surah Safat, and I'll read out the translation. फिर जब वो इसके साथ काम के काबिल हो गया, कहा है मेरे बेटे, मैंने ख्वाब देखा कि मैं तुझे ज़िबा करता हूँ। अब तू देख तेरी क्या राय है। कहा है मेरे बाप, कीजिए जिस बात का आपको हुक्म होता है। खुदा ने चाहा तो करीब है कि आप मुझे साबिर पाएंगे। फलम्मा अस्लमा वतल्लाहु लिलजबीन। तो जब इन दोनों ने हमारे हुक्म पर गर्दन रखी और बाप ने बेटे को माथे के बल लिटाया, इस वक्त का हाल न पूछ। और हमने इसे नदा फरमाए कि ए इब्राहिम, बेशक तूने ख्वाब सच्चा कर दिखाया। हम ऐसा ही सिला देते हैं नेकों को। इन्ना हाजा लाहुवल बलाउल मुबीन। बेशक ये रोशन जांच थी, रोशन इम्तिहान था। So these are the lines from Surah Safat, and let's continue with that. वफ़दैनहु बिज़िब्हिन अज़ीम। और हमने एक बड़ा ज़बिया इसके सदक़े में देकर इसे बचा लिया। वतरकना अलैहि फ़िल आख़िरीन। और हमने पिछलों में इसकी तारीफ बाकी रखी। सलामुन अला इब्राहीम कज़ालिका नज्ज़िल मुहसिनीन। तो ये 102 से लेके 110 नंबर आयात का है, और इसमें ज़िबा अज़ीम के मुतल्लिक़ ज़िक्र हुआ है कि हज़रत इब्राहीम अलैहिस्सलाम की कुर्बानी को कबूल किया अल्लाह ताला ने, और उसको मुअख्खर कर दिए बाद के ज़माने के लिए, और कहा कि इसको हमने एक ज़िबा अज़ीम से बदल दिया। अब देखना है कि उस ज़िबा अज़ीम से क्या मुराद है। तो इसके लिए हम चलते हैं आगे सूरह फजर की तरफ। सूरह फजर में दिया गया वल फज्र व लयाली अश्र व शफ़ वल वत्र वल लैल इज़ा यसर हल फी ज़ालिका कसमुन लज़ी हिजर। By the dawn and by 10 nights, and by the even number and the odd, and by the night when it passes, is there not in all that an oath sufficient for one of perception? So here what is being talked about is the dawn. God is swearing by the dawn and by the sanctity of the 10 nights. And he says that here is sufficient evidence for those who can perceive things correctly. So most all the interpreters of the Holy Quran agree on this, that these verses deal with the month of Zilhaj, the first 10 nights, and the day is the day of the sacrifice, that is on the day when Hazrat Ibrahim decided to martyr or slaughter his son, and that was accepted by the Almighty, but it was converted into Ziba Azim. So this is as far as the explanation of these first 5 verses of Surah Al-Fajr are concerned. Now, you must remember this point, that Zilhaj is the last month of in the Islamic calendar, and Muharrum is the first month of the Islamic calendar. Now, if these 5 verses, pertain to um, the month of Zilhaj, then they are also equally applicable to the month of Muharram. Muharram, as you know, is the first month of the Islamic calendar. So when we look at it, we find that there is a connection between Zilhaj and Muharram. That which was started in the month of Zilhaj, that sacrifice which was started in the month of Zilhaj, found its fruition and completion in the month of Muharram, when Imam Hussain sacrificed his life and that of his dear ones on the plains of Karbala. That was the time when the sacrifice was needed most, because by that time, after the passage of about 60 years, after the demise of the Prophet, after that, um, 60 years had elapsed, and Islamic values had started deteriorating, and Yazid was at the helm of the affairs, and it was time that such a sacrifice should be given in order to resuscitate or in order to give life to Islam, which was waning, which was getting weaker day by day. And the last three verses of Surah Fajr refer to the sacrifice made by Imam Hussain. Here it is stated that Imam Hussain, after all his dear ones were martyred on the plains of Karbala, he came forth and started his last battle with the forces of Yazid. He was fighting all alone, and he was putting on a brave defense, fighting courageously. His battle reminded one of the valor of the family of the Prophet, of the valor of the Prophet, of the valor of Imam Ali. So he was fighting against his enemies. And then Jibrail whispered into his ear the last three verses of the Surah Al-Fajr. ارجع إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. Return to your Lord, well pleased and pleasing to him, and enter among my righteous servants, and enter my paradise. So that was the time when Imam Hussain placed his sword in the scabbard, and the enemy, emboldened by this, encircled him and put an end to his life. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi rajiun. And describing this scene, Hafiz Jalandhari says, ये बिल यकी हुसैन है नबी का नूर ऐन है लिबास है फटा हुआ गुबार में अटा हुआ तमाम जिस्म नाज़नी छिदा हुआ कटा हुआ ये कौन जी वकार है बला का शह सवार है कि है हजारों कातिलों के सामने डटा हुआ. It's a long poem. I've just taken two or three couplets from that. So, in the estimate of Allama Iqbal, this Ziba Azim is the continuation of what was left incomplete or incomplete by Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, though his intention was definitely there to sacrifice his son, but God did not want that sacrifice to take place at that point of time. He wanted it to take place at a distant time and place. From the same family, the family of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, whose descendant the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was there, who took pains to spread Islam. But when the Islamic values were eroding, then it was time for the sacrifice to be given again so that uh, awareness was spread among the people, so that people realized that what they had done to the family of the Holy Prophet and in what way they had deviated from the true path of Islam. And I'll now read out the two verses of Allama Iqbal. Allah Allah by Bismillah Pidar, Mani Zibe Azim Ahmed Pisar. This means that God be praised that the father, meaning thereby Hazrat Ali, is the Ba of Bismillah. And the fulfillment of Ziba Azim came from Imam Hussain, who is the son of Hazrat Ali. And then again, Allama Iqbal says, Garibo Sada और रंगी है दास्तान हरम निहायत इसकी हुसैन इब्तदा है Ismail. So it is simple. Garibo Sada और रंगी है दास्तान हरम. It is a very simple story, full of colors about this noble family. The start of the sacrifice was made by Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam, and the end by Imam Hussain alayhi salam. गरीब व सादा और रंगी है दास्तान हरम निहायत इसकी हुसैन इब्तदा है इस्माइल. And then we come to Hazrat Khwaja Muinuddin Ajmeri's Rubai, where he says, Shahst Hussain, Badshahst Hussain, Deenast Hussain, Deen Panahast Hussain, Sardad, Nadad, Das Dar Das Yazid, Hakka ke bina la ila Ast Hussain. That is, Hussain is the leader, he is the king. Hussain represents Islam, and Islam came in the protection of Hussain. He gave his head, Sardad gave his head, Nadad, thus the Yazid, but did not offer allegiance to Yazid. Hakka ke bina la ila ast Hussain. And the fact is that Hussain alayhi salam is the foundation of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Thank you very much. Jazakallah.